Chronicles. We're also going to be covering Second Chronicles. But if you haven't been here for the whole series, I'll give you the real quick rundown of it. Oh, I brought my cool book, too. Y'all check this thing out. Bible comics, is that what you call it? Do I not have, I thought I had the wrong one. There it is. Yeah, all right. So I actually brought this book because it's really hard to read on there. This is the same little cool graphs. Everybody calls it my coloring book. It's really not a coloring book. It's just an awesome chart of the Bible. These are actually posters. I'm going to try to get all these things framed and hang them up so people could look at them. But I wanted to print it so I bring this so I could actually see it. But so far what we've covered, y'all ready? We've covered 1 through 9, which is the genealogies of the Chronicles. And if you notice, this does say the Chronicles because the book of Chronicles, 1st and 2nd Chronicles, was originally one book. But because it's such a big book, they split it into 2. And we have 1st and 2nd Chronicles, but it all goes together. It flows as one big, large book. The Chronicles was taken, a lot of the same things we read in Chronicles was found in the books of Samuel and the books of the Kings. The only thing that's different is they only put in the really good stuff. They just make Israel look awesome, right? So it's really, really cool. Now, this is what we covered last week, right? The boring part, which was all the genealogies, but I tried to make it as interesting as possible if he was here. And we talked about how important it is for us to understand our genealogy and our history and our culture and our generation so that we have a stronger understanding. Then we get right here, which is chapter 10 through 29. I'm going to cover a couple of those chapters tonight. Next week, Brother Joey's going to cover chapter 21. But if you read here, this says negative stories of David, and then there's 2 big X's. There's not a single bad story about David in the Chronicles. They leave out the fact that he was that there was persecution by Saul for David. They leave out the fact that he was an adulterer and a murderer. They didn't say any of that bad stuff about David. They just talked about how awesome David was. And so they give all these good, positive stories of David throughout the Bible. And then we get down here, and we talked about this right here, right? This is the new David, which is how we're going to end this whole series. Right here, the new David, because 2nd Chronicles ends with a what? An incomplete sentence. I'm going to read it tonight because I can actually read it. Whoever there is among you of all his people, may the Lord God be with him and let him go up. The end. That's how Chronicles ends. Just like, what? Could you imagine reading this? You're the generation coming out of exile, and you get to read this cool stories. I'm going to put this by you if you don't mind. And you get to read these cool stories, right? And all of a sudden you get to that, an incomplete sentence to close out the book. I'd have been like, man, what the heck, dude? Who wrote this? We got to go find this guy. I need to know the end of the story. But he is the end of the story. So here's my message stuff for tonight. Beyond just rituals, 1 Chronicles stresses the importance of proper worship. So tonight we're going to be talking about worship. It's one of my favorite topics of the Bible. It's so important for us to understand worship and know what worship is all about. But I got to ask y'all a couple questions. What is worship? You ever asked that question before? What is worship? You know, is it raising your hand? When I was a youth pastor, we used to make the little silly stuff about worship. Maybe some of y'all seen like some of the comedians that do this. Some of the Christian comedians from time to time, they'll go like, you got all the different worship styles. You got to fill it up. Carry the TV. I got a question. That was my go-to when I was a teenager. I was like, oh, my arms are tired. That was my favorite. You got the reaching. My favorite one is this one though. It's like the weird Pledge of Allegiance. That's me. That's my go-to. I don't know why. I get in the worship. I'm like, Thursday, whoa. I don't know why I start beating my chest. It's weird. So worship could be all kind of different things, right? But here's some things that it actually is. It's ceremonious. That's a legitimate form of worship. That's what we just got finished doing. It's like a ceremony. We come together in corporate worship as one voice worshiping God. It's an awesome way. It's passion. Worship can be passion. It could be showing compassion towards people by giving and helping people and reaching out where people, that's worship. That's being literally the hands and feet of Jesus. That's worship. It's an attitude of the heart. It's coming in, being frustrated and aggravated and mad, and then allowing God to get rid of all that so that you can get into his presence. It's the attitude of the heart. It's heart-changing. It gets us away from the flesh and brings us closer to him. Can we fake it, though? How many of you ever faked it till you made it? Me. I'm telling myself. I've been there before, but I've been seeing people in the worship one. I'm sitting in the back like, oh, I got indigestion. Oh, Lord, I should have brought some Tums. Oh, I'm a little uncomfortable. You got people just all in it. I'm like, oh, God don't need you here because they in it. But, my back hurts. Oh, my feet hurt. And I'm going through these things, right? I've shared this story before. I went to a youth conference. I was not feeling it. I was standing there. I had the worst shoes on in the world on hard concrete floors, complaining, gripping the chair, saying, Lord, let them finish singing. I'm so tired. I just want to sit down, Jesus. That was my worship, y'all. And I'm like, oh, Lord. And I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to raise my hand. I'm going to fake it till I make it, God. I started beating my chest and everything. I'm like, my feet hurt really bad right now. And I put my hands down. I'm like, all right, tap out. I'm too old for this. I was old. I wasn't even a youth pastor anymore. I'm like, I don't even know why I'm here. So I started working my way down the aisle. I looked at Branch. I'm going to the van. And she's like, what? I was like, I'm going to the van. My feet hurt. So I started doing this. I'm shimmying through the aisles. And then the pastor gets up and was like, you. And I'm like, there's a teenager in front of me. I'm like, hey, man, he got you, dog. He about to pray for you, man. Good luck. He said, no, I'm talking to you, old man. I'm like, hey, watch yourself. It's great, but it ain't that bad. And so he points me out, and I'm like, what? I'm like, me? He's like, yeah, you. I'm like, me? I looked around and said, you talking? Oh, shoot, ain't nobody back to me? And he's like, yeah, you. I'm like, oh, God, my feet just hurt. And I get up there. And God shows up. So can you fake it? Sure. But if God wants you, he's going to get you. So sometimes it's more important just to make sure you're where his presence is so that you can get what he got for you even when you're not feeling it. That's a whole different message. I ain't preaching that. So sometimes, though, we can lose focus on worship, right? Just like I did at that particular time, and then God called me out in front of a bunch of teenagers. Israelites had done the same thing. They had been in captivity so long, they'd forgotten how to worship. So the guys who are writing the Chronicles give them some practical examples of how worship is supposed to be and how it shouldn't be. We're going to start off with the how it shouldn't be and get to how it should be. All ready? So one such story is in 1 Chronicles 13. It's when they go to return the Ark of the Covenant to God's people after the death of Saul. David becomes the king over Israel, and a decision was made to bring back the Ark of the Covenant. And David and all of Israel went to Baalah and Judah to bring the Ark to Jerusalem. And the story describes how they're going to transport and all that. So I don't have the first two verses, but I'm going to read them to you. It says they placed the Ark of God on a new court. That just sounds good right there, right off the bat. They're like, they didn't go get the old funky court. They went got the pretty court. They made a brand new court. You know what I'm talking about, like a push court for the Ark of the Covenant. They're like, look, we're going all out here. We're going to get a pretty court. They got a nice brand new court for the Ark. Sounds good. And so they start and they go get it, and Uzzah and Ahio were guiding the court. David and all of Israel were celebrating before God with all their might, singing songs and playing on all kinds of musical instruments and lyres and harps and tambourines and cymbals and trumpets. It sounds good, right? New court, praise and worship going on. Everybody's having a good time. Verse 9. But when they arrived at the threshing floor of Nacon, the oxen stumbled, and Uzzah reached out his hand to steady the ark, because it's on the court. Then the Lord's anger was aroused against Uzzah and struck him dead, because he laid his hand on the ark. So Uzzah died there in the presence of God. Hallelujah. What a great story. I mean, I just feel encouraged just reading that right there. I mean, it makes me just want to stop preaching, turn back on the worship music, and get right back into praise, right? No, it doesn't at all. But there's a good point in this story. Let's keep going. David was angry because the Lord's anger had burst out against Uzzah. And he named that place Perez Uzzah, which means to burst out against Uzzah. Poor guy. Not only did he die, but they had the whole area named around him. And it's still called that today. David was now afraid of God, and he asked, how can I ever bring the ark of God back into my care? So David did not move the ark into the city of David. Instead, he took it to the house of Obed-Edom of Gath. Now, as I'm reading this, y'all come into my brain for a second. This is how I'm reading this story. David's like, what just happened? Put it on a pretty court. I'm out here worshiping my heart out, God. I got the tambourines going. We got trumpets going. I got some dude on a lyre. I don't even know how to play the lyre, but this dude's getting down on the lyre. He's running with first of all, have you ever seen a lyre? How do you walk and play that at the same time? Like, I don't know how that works. Anyway, so he's like getting down with the lyre, like, you know, like Richard on a guitar or something. And so he's like going down. And then all of a sudden the court gets unstable. Uzzah just touches it, boom, falls down, dies. And David's like, I cannot believe that just happened. Why would you do that when we are doing something for you? Can you sometimes fake it? Uzzah goes down. And so David shows up at this dude, Obed-Edom's house of Gath. And this is how I see it. David's like, man, we ain't going nowhere else with this thing. You got a house? Yeah. Got a shed? Yeah. Can I put that in your shed? I'm the king. I can. That's going in your shed, and we're going to leave it here until I can figure out what to do, because this is knocking people dead, and I'm mad now, and I'm angry. We was having a good time. We was worshiping. It was great. The dude with the lyre done took off. I don't know what happened to him. We're going to leave it here. That's how it plays out in my head. Okay, let's keep going. The ark of God remained there at Obed-Edom's house for 3 months, and the Lord blessed the household Obed-Edom and everything he owned. What's that? Yeah, all the big fruit. Yeah, all the good stuff. Obed-Edom's house gets blessed when David dropped it off. But what Obed-Edom was a Levite. And the Levites were supposed to handle the Ark of the Covenant. Uzzah and his boy, we don't know what they were. We not sure. I'm pretty sure they wasn't Levi. He touched it, he did. And if he was a Levite, he was breaking the law because he didn't have the poles to it and carrying it on his shoulders like he was supposed to. So God took it and said, if you're going to fake it, then I don't need it. Honestly, the first part of the story was fun because I got to tell y'all how God took me and like kicked me in the gut. What I didn't tell you, I was like cried for 3 weeks after that because he kicked me in the gut. Because I was faking it when God was trying to do something and didn't worry about my feet hurting. He wanted to speak to me, and he had to call me out and kick me in my gut so I could hear what he had to say. Hey. Y'all good? So Obadiah was a Levite, though. And so David drops this thing off there, and everything just goes great. And I could see David at this point, and he's just kind of freaking out. He said, what the heck is going on? I was trying to do everything the way I was supposed to, but it didn't pan out the way I wanted it to. And God blesses Obadiah's household. And then it's recalled again in chapter 26 of this book. And Obadiah is ranked among the Levitical gatekeepers. He's like the big dog of the Levites. And God just continues to pour out his blessings on him. So David eventually gets his mind right, figures it all out, and we get to 2 chapters later, in chapter 15. And so David goes and builds this nice, beautiful tent. And he's got this tent all set up, and it's going to be the new house for God to go live in. And this is when we get to chapter 15, verse 1. It says, now David now built several buildings for himself in the city of David, and he also prepared a place for the ark of God, and he set up a special tent for it. So David's going all out again. David's like, all right, the court thing, that was a bad idea, so now I'm going to build a nice, pretty tent. So he builds this tent, and verse 2 says, then he commanded, no one except the Levites may carry the ark. The Lord has chosen them to carry the ark of the Lord and to serve him forever. My boy David got smart. And for the post-exiled readers, for the Chronicle readers who are reading this, they're just coming out of exile. This story would have spoke to the importance of taking care of God's house. They were in the process of what? Rebuilding the temple, understanding the structure and order of the temple. And this is so important for us to still understand today. God functions better in order than he does in chaos. And if you're trying to look for me to be one of those guys with kind of chaos, I may look chaotic, but there's a lot of order in my stuff. There's a lot of preparation in what I do. I don't just come up with this stuff off the top of my head and be like, all right, then let's see how this works. I don't do that. I pray. I shut the door to my office today at Oceaneering, and I put my worship music on loud. And I said, God, I want a word for your people tonight. And I sat there, and I started reading through my Bible, and that's when I get to Hebrews, and I'm like, ooh, that's good. And I was like, ooh, wait, what did Paul say in Ephesians? Ooh, that's good. Let me put all this together now. And then I set up the preparation so that the order of our service has order in it, and then God can use that order to speak through me into you, because y'all just got finished with a ceremonial praise unto God, which means when your praises go up, his presence comes down, and when his presence is in the room, and then there's order in the room, he can do whatever he wants to do. But when we get to a point where we just kind of fake the motions of what we're doing, it doesn't matter how much order we bring. If you're out of order, you're in chaos. So you can't get mad at the church when you're in chaos. I'm trying to smile because it's hard. So the readers have been reading this, and they would have read about how important it was for everything to have order. And then Haggai, who we looked at that book a while back, Haggai describes the struggle of forgetting God's temple and the order of worship to the post-exile people of Jerusalem again. So in Haggai 1, 3 through 11, if you want to go back and read it again. But this is what the rest of 1 Chronicles has to say. Chapter 15, verse 13. Because you Levites did not carry the ark the first time, the anger of the Lord, our God, burst out against us. We failed to ask God how to move it properly. There might be some stuff in your life that you're trying to move on your own. And God's trying to talk to you about it. Don't be like me. Don't get kicked in the gut. Because the prophecy that was spoken over me was things I was dragging my feet on. It was good. Anything that's good comes from above. It wasn't nothing spoken over me was bad. I don't want y'all to think like this dude read my mail and like told me all kind of bad stuff about that. It was all good stuff. But it was good stuff because it's stuff I needed to hear because I was not doing what I was supposed to do. You understand? It says, we fail to ask God how to move it properly. So the priests and the Levites purified themselves in order to bring the ark of the Lord of God of Israel to Jerusalem. Then the Levites carried the ark of God on their shoulders with his carrying poles, just as the Lord had instructed Moses. Generational. Y'all seeing this, right? They went back and got those generational blessings and generational instructions, and they applied it to today. Y'all, come on. Stay with me. So David also ordered the Levite leaders to appoint a choir of Levites. Now, wait, what happened the first time? They were all out there. They just had a ragtag band. They just had a ragtag band. They had brother so-and-so that couldn't play the bass, and they had sister so-and-so who couldn't hold a tune. And it looked cool because they had a lot of people, but, you got, how many of y'all can admit if they all key, you off key, and then it just messes up your whole experience. You're like, I don't know what's going on right now. I'm just lost. You know what I'm talking about? Okay, anyway, maybe that's just me. All right. So he appointed a choir of Levites who were singers and musicians. They had purpose. They knew who they were. They were in order. Are y'all getting this? I really hope this is helping you. And so who were singers and musicians to sing joyful songs to the accompaniment of harps, lyres, and cymbals. Kenaiah, I'm skipping all the way to verse 22 just because I thought that was awesome. Because he names all the people that was playing and stuff. I'm like, I don't know who they are, and you don't need to know who they are either. But this dude stood out. Kenaiah, the head Levite, was chosen as the choir leader because of his skill. What a way to be written up. Kenaiah, I got skills. But when I read that first, my mind went to like John Travolta. I got chills, they multiply. I don't know why. That's what my head went to. Because it's like, he got skills, they multiply. I don't know. Help me, Lord, help me. And look, I skipped ahead again. Kenaiah had skills. Then David and the elders of Israel and the generals of the armies went to the house of Obadiah to bring the ark of the Lord's covenant up to Jerusalem with a great celebration. So now they round two. And because God was clearly helping the Levites as they carried the ark of the Lord's covenant, they sacrificed 7 bulls and 7 rams. It's on, y'all. They're having a feast. Things are good. They got an offering going on. The service is in order. And David was dressed in a robe of fine linen. This brother was looking good, as were all the Levites who carried the ark, and also the singers. And Kenaniah, he goes up again. Boy got skills. Y'all ain't never going to forget that now. Kenaniah, the choir leader. David was also wearing a priestly garment. So all of Israel brought up the ark of the Lord's covenant with shouts of joy, blowing of ram's horns and trumpets, the crashing of cymbals and loud playing of harps and lyres. Now, I want to point this out real fast. Loud playing. Don't y'all ever come complain that the sound system's too loud? Because heaven is quiet. No, it's not. They got like a couple billion seraphim, loud as all get out around the throne of God. And if you don't like it loud now, you're going to be, oh, God, you got to turn the volume down. It ain't going to happen. He's going to be looking at you like, what? Okay. Verse 29. But as the ark of the Lord's covenant entered the city of David, Michal, the daughter of Saul, looked down from her window. And when she saw King David skipping about and laughing with joy, that's my boy, y'all. See, some of y'all look at me sometimes like, you too silly. This brother is skipping and laughing. I would drop the mic, but it's expensive. All right. When he saw King David skipping about and laughing with joy, she was filled with contempt for him. Now, this is kind of cool. And this is one of those little hidden gems in the Bible. Because we don't go into much detail in the chronicle with that. It was just enough to let you know, hey, yo, Saul's people were still cutting up and still had issues. And even when things were good, they still weren't happy because they couldn't be joyful in the presence of God because they were mad about not getting the blessing anymore. That's a little hidden gem in this whole story, because you read this whole story and you get to that and you're like, and? Okay, she was mad at him. Well, yeah, she was mad at him because Saul had lost the blessing and David just out there skipping like, yeah, what's happening? I look good. And she's like, whatever. I ain't got no blessing. Congratulations, you got the ark back. See, sometimes when God is trying to move and we see God doing something miraculous, don't get like McCall and sit back when God's got something awesome happening and get envious and look down at them with some contempt. And that's what the Chronicle is trying to teach here. He's saying, hey, don't get stuck in somebody else's offense when God is doing something awesome down in the streets. So God didn't just care about the Levites and proper worship order. What he was actually focusing on also was true worship and life before God. So he wanted there to be order, but he wanted order with true worship and a true life before God. And throughout all the Chronicles, the author stresses the importance of serving and worshiping God with a whole heart. A whole heart. Or other translations say a perfect heart. Ain't none of us in here got a perfect heart. That's going to help y'all out. So just go for the whole heart. It'll make you feel a lot better about yourself. Because perfect heart, one day. Not today, though. Because you'll be perfect for like 15 seconds, and then somebody's going to do something, and you're going to miss it. Just shoot for the whole heart thing. We used to sing a song, with my whole heart. Anyway, so that's a long time ago. So shoot for the whole heart thing, because watch what David says in chapter 28 to his son. Verse 9. 28 verse 9. And Solomon, my son, learn to know the God of your ancestors intimately. Worship and serve him with your whole heart and a willing mind. For the Lord sees every heart and knows every plan and thought. If you seek him, you will find him. But if you forsake him, he will reject you forever. That's harsh words. So take this seriously. The Lord has chosen you to build a temple as his sanctuary. Be strong and do the work. Be strong and do the work. Man, that's about to be my new catchphrase. Be strong and do the work. We forget this part. We forget about this. Worship and serve him with your whole heart and a willing mind. For the Lord sees it. And if you seek him, you'll find him. But if you forsake him, he will reject you forever. So take it seriously. Now, this is really cool. The Lord has chosen you to build a temple as a sanctuary. This would have been when David is looking at his son and he's passing on the mantle and saying, son, you the king now. But it's more important than being the king. Your first responsibility is to make sure that you keep God in front of the nation. Our first responsibility as a Christian is to keep God in front of people. That's why it's the cry of our church. Love God, love people. Love God, love people. If you follow that simple formula that Jesus taught us as the two greatest commandments, you can understand the importance that building this temple is. So be strong and do the work. Be strong and do the work. For us as worshipers, be strong and do the work. Don't fake it till you make it. Just do it. Just do the work. Just do the work. Just press through. Just get out of your flesh for 5 seconds. If you got to sit down to do it, sit down to do it. If you got to go to the van to do it, go to the van to do it. But get out of your own flesh for 5 seconds so God can see true, wholehearted worship. True worship goes beyond just a ceremony. Come on. It goes beyond just corporate worship. True worship goes beyond a style. My favorite worship song ever is called Dear Mr. Christian, rapped by Derek Minor. I'm like, what? Rap? You want me to sing it? Dear Mr. Christian, I know you're on a mission. Something about religion. Your answer to everything is religion. But I wish you sit down and just take a listen, because the answer to my problem is more than just religion. So, dear Mr. Christian, I'm so glad you're trying to help me out. But if you could just listen to my story, you might actually see what I'm going through. And I believe that song so much in my heart. And the reason I call that rap song a worship song is because it's more than just a style. It's more than just a drum or a guitar. It's more than just a song that make you raise your hand. Worship also makes you think and meditate on God. And when words are spoken into your life that can get you to meditate on what God is trying to do, it will change your life forever. Yeah. By the way, I still got subs in the car too. Boom. It's beyond just a ceremonial worship style. It's beyond the style of music. Worship goes beyond even circumstances. Worship is so much more than a setting of lights and the right songs and the right atmosphere and the right this and the right that. If you're waiting for all the perfect settings, you're never going to really find what worship's all about. All you're going to find is what an experience is. And God is way more than an experience. God is something that we are supposed to live in completely. He's not just an emotional high for the moment. There was this thing that used to go out all the time, and it was a cute saying. Anybody ever heard there's no high like the most high? It was like, because that's when like everybody was getting high in the 80s, and some hip youth pastor came up with that saying one day, like, there's no high like the most high. And everybody was like, yeah! Long hair, 80s rock bands and stuff. And it's a cute saying, but I can remember one day on MySpace. Anybody remember MySpace? Some of y'all had no idea what MySpace is. Anyway, so way back in the days of MySpace, I remember going through my feed on MySpace, and I saw someone post a picture, and they just got back from a camp. It wasn't one of our camps, because I'd have went and told them something, because that means that they were my teenager, and I could have said something. But they wasn't one of my teenagers, so I couldn't say anything. But I saw them post something on there, and it said, oh, my Jesus high done wore off. And, man, that statement, that was over 15 years ago I read that statement. And every once in a while, God just makes that thing pop up in my mind. And something that I've been trying to teach our young people in our church for years after that moment was it was never about the experience of an altar call, but it was about the encounter of God at the altar. And that it wasn't about who was going to come pray for them and have a spoken word for them. It was about how many of them could actually press in and hear what God had to speak to them. And too many of us are still looking for an experience instead of an encounter. David, when they first put the Ark of the Covenant on the cart, being pulled by ox, was looking for an experience. It was looking for, hey, look what we're doing. We got God with us. But when they put it in order, they had an encounter. And God showed up. And things started happening for the nation of Israel again, just like it did for the house of Obadiah, whatever his name is. God is just looking for us to have wholehearted worship in everything we do, at work, in the car, in the house, everywhere we go. I'm gonna tell them. Well, no, I can't tell that story. I gotta wait till the series. Never mind. I was gonna tell them myself, but I can't. I will tell them myself. But I'm waiting. Brandon wants me to tell it to the whole church, on Sunday morning, because it's a good one. I'll just say that. Y'all gonna laugh at me because I lost my cool. But anyway. Yeah. Wait till week 5 of the series, Flirt with Temptation. You'll hear all about it. So let's be wholehearted worshipers in every area of our life and watch how God's blessings fall on us, right? Y'all go ahead and stand to your feet as we close. Hope y'all got a fun little twist on worship tonight. Father, I thank you for your word. Father, I thank you for the chronicler who wrote these books to help us to understand more about you and how you function in history and how you function in our lives. Father, I just pray tonight that you help us to realize that you are looking for worshipers who worship with their whole heart. People who want to give you everything they have, God. Like, we're not going to just come in and look for certain things to make us feel better about worship. But God, we're going to worship you completely. We're going to take it serious, and we're going to be strong, and we're going to do the work that it takes to build up this fleshly temple so that we go out and we love God and we love people, and we are the hands and feet of Jesus in our community to help people all around us. In Jesus' mighty name, amen.